Above the ice sheet, the sky is full of wind and snow. The clouds in the sky are thick and gloomy, and occasionally pale electric lights can be seen flickering among the clouds, like flowing fire. The wild atmosphere rolled up the densely packed ice particles on the ground, blended with the ice and snow in the air, and made the sound of howling ghosts and wolves, making this heaven and earth look like purgatory. Clang! A dull bell suddenly came out from the depths of the ice field, instantly suppressing the sound of the wind and snow. The place where the bell comes from is a completely different world. The sky of wind and snow was cut off by a huge protective array, which was like an inverted sarong, gently enclosing 5 floating mountains. Outside the big array, the wind and snow are biting. Within the big array, it is warm as spring. The wind and snow outside the array hit the big array, suddenly turning into a little white aura, lingering against the sarong, and then being slowly absorbed. After a while, the difference is so different, it is the good fortune of the fairy family. According to the legend, immortal King Yu moved 5 suspended mountains from the sky with shocking power, and arranged a large formation to protect the mountains. From then on, there was King Yu Mountain and King Yu Immortal Sect. Thousands of years, the King Yu fairy sect has been passed down from generation to generation and has become one of the few immortal sects in the northern border of Zhu. When the first bell rang slowly as a qualified handyman, Chen Shaoji got up from the bed for the first time. Dressed up, folded the quilt, and refreshed briefly. His movements have reached the perfect state. Why did you pass through? Chen Shaoji muttered, while getting up and walking towards the small stove. He gave himself a whole bite to eat. Boil noodles in water, fry 2 eggs, put an invincible cucumber. A large bowl of fragrant white water noodles is cooked. This is the perfect presentation of Chen Shaoji's cooking skills without reservation. As a traverser, he felt it was too difficult for him to do this. You must know that he never entered the kitchen before crossing. The earthly man, also named Chen Shaoji, belongs to the winner of life with a double harvest of career and love. In terms of career, after graduating from university, with his outstanding personal ability, he made several million in just 2 years, and his business is booming. Of course, the hundreds of millions of capital given by his parents is of little help to him, but he thinks it can be ignored. In terms of love, his emotional experience is very rich, and the girls he loves love him very much. Among them, there are 2 girls who love him so much that they even clamored to break up with their boyfriends and prepare to be with him in an open and honest manner. This caused him to fall into a sweet annoyance for a while, and he didn't know how to show down with those 2 brothers who had stolen the fishy and called for takeout together. In short, Chen Shaoji in the earth world is very happy. If he had a choice, he would never want this kind of horrible thing to happen to him. Does he have a choice? No. The inexplicable crossing made his situation very bad. How to say? Now, he is nothing but handsome. The original owner of a poor family was sent to this sect called King Yu Xianzong a year ago. To put it bluntly, there were too many children in the family that their parents could not afford, so when the immortal master of the King Yu immortal sect passed by the village and fell in love with the good-looking original owner, the peasant couple did not give up at all. Send people up. Later, the immortal master led the original owner into the mountain gate. After an entry test, he found that the handsome original owner was actually an embroidered pillow with extremely poor qualifications. He was disappointed and kicked the original owner to the lower courtyard of the mountain gate and ignored it. Since then, the original owner has become a glorious disciple of the court handyman. Both parents, poor qualifications, and no betrothed fiancé. This is definitely the lowest configuration for crossing the realm, and there is no room for people to even think about it. Chen Shaoji didn't know how he came into this world. Anyway, a month ago, when he woke up from sleep, he became like this. Over the past month, he has gradually accepted the fact of his journey. There is nothing he can do if he doesn't accept it, except for 2 complaints to himself every day. What can he do? Since you can't resist the XX of life, why not enjoy it? Mr. Liu Sun's words are the most plausible quotes no matter where they are placed, so Chen Shaiji quickly learned to cook instant noodles for himself and enjoy the crispy cucumber in his mouth. After eating the noodles, he swallowed the pulpy cucumber, and quickly stuffed the 2 eggs into his mouth. The hunger and thirst in the body finally diminished a little. Chen Shaiji hurriedly packed the dishes and chopsticks, and then began to organize his clothes in front of the bronze mirror. Woohoo, so handsome! Every time he saw this chiseled face in the bronze mirror, he couldn't help expressing such emotion. There is no dead angle in 360 degrees, just a handsome character. Such a beautiful face, Chen Shaiji couldn't help but fall in love with it, let alone other people. After getting dressed, Chen Shaiji opened the door and walked out of his home. Outside the house, it's already bright. Clang, the second bell rang in the morning to remind the disciples to go out. In a while, there will be a third bell. When the third bell rings, if you can't make it to the lower house to gather, then those who are waiting for their handyman disciples will be punished with a whip. Just when I crossed through, Chen Shaiji was lashed for being late. He can swear that the torture manager has no humanity and is definitely a master of whip play. At that time, his white and tender body was beaten with blood, and it took more than 10 days of pain to heal completely. He is still unforgettable and never dared to be late again. Senior brother Chen, why did you go out so early? Not long after Chen Shaiji left, he suddenly heard someone greet him behind him. The rows of small broken houses at the foot of the mountain belong to the dormitories of the handyman disciples. Although not many people go out at this time, but there are not many. Chen Shaiji turned his head and saw that he was an acquaintance, and hurriedly said, "Hello, Brother Wu, morning." Lai Ren is also a handyman disciple, named Wu Fulai. Wu Fulai is said to be an orphan. He entered the King Yu immortal sect when he was very young. Because of his poor qualifications, he stayed in the lower courtyard all the time. He is regarded as one of the best old people among the handyman disciples in the lower courtyard. Because of his easygoing personality, Wu Fulai has a good relationship with the original owner, and he can always talk a few words. Junior brother Chen, we just met today, let's go together. Okay, brother Wu. Chen Shaiji just nodded in agreement, and suddenly heard a crack in his head, an extremely clear reminder immediately after a system interface that only he can see jumped out of him. UU reading www.youcanshu.com. Reminder of the dipping system. Wu Fulai has strong feet, and the host is with him, and the speed can be increased by 20%. Should I choose dipping? Whether? Chen Shaiji quickly chose yes, then closed the interface, and continued to chat with Wu Fulai casually, and walked towards the lower courtyard. After crossing, Chen Shaiji proved one thing with his own experience: crossing must bring golden fingers. His golden finger is the dipping system in his brain. The dipping system, as the name suggests, is to damp the light of others. As the host of the system, he stays with other people in this world. As long as he gets the light through the system, he can instantly get the blessing of that person in his specialty. Like in front of me, Wu Fulai's foot strength is Wu Fulai's specialty. As long as he stays with Wu Lefu, through the effect of the system, his foot strength can be touched by Wu Fulai's light and make his walking speed faster. If you stay with Wu Fulai for a long time and keep exercising, his foot strength can become stronger and stronger. In the month after crossing, Chen Shaiji did not study this system much. He found that the effect of the system is very good, and the triggering conditions are very harsh. To be exposed to the light of others, he must stay with the person who is exposed to the light, and cannot be more than 5 steps away. Once it leaves this effective distance, the dipping effect will be disconnected. Uses a more vivid metaphor to explain that he is just a free Wi-Fi player. If you want to go online, you must go to the source of Wi-Fi. The free Wi-Fi signal has a high limit on the connection distance, so you can't get too far away. Therefore it's all based on ability. Chen Shaiji and Wu Fulai were walking and chatting. Seeing the tall portal of the lower house hall in the distance, Wu Fulai suddenly said, "Junior brother Chen, for some reason, I found that you seem to be a little different in the last few days." Someone was a little flustered when he heard the words, worried that he was seen as a traverser, so he could only force his composure. "Brother Wu, I wonder what makes me different in your eyes. In the past, you didn't like to talk very much. I said 10 sentences, but you couldn't say a word. In the past few days, I found that you are quite talkative and your temperament has become much more cheerful." "Oh, that's what the brother said." Someone has a brain teaser and starts to make up reasons in a hurry. From the memory left over from the body, we know that the original owner is a taciturn person. Belongs to the cold and handsome who is handsome and doesn't like to talk. He has a very personal character. Because of this, the popularity of the original owner in the lower house is not good. There are only a few people like Wu Fulai who can get along, and they basically have no intersection with other handyman disciples. Of course, this is a good thing for Chen Shaijia now, he doesn't have to worry about what he is seeing. Otherwise, there are too many people who know him well, just like Wu Fulai in front of him, and he will notice his changes after a few casual conversations. When the time comes, let alone the details, he will be seen through the bottoms every minute. After thinking about it, Chen Shaijia explained in a sincere tone, "Brother Wu, I have been in the lower court for a year without knowing it. Didn't I eat a whip because I was late? I felt that I could no longer mess around like before, so I changed some bad things. Temper. That's it. Brother Wu, I am like this now, is it okay?" "Good, good, of course good. That way, I can rest assured, I will ask my brother for more advice in the future." Chen Shaijia wiped his sweat secretly, and finally managed to deal with it. It seems that this set of rhetoric is very good, and there is no need to worry about being seen through the underpants in the future. The two entered the lower yard and chatted for a while, until the third bell rang. They stopped. After all the handyman disciples entered the hall, they began to perform morning repairs. The daily life of a handyman disciple is to repair in the morning before working. After Chen Shaijia's observation over the past few days, if a company is used as a metaphor for King Yu Xianzong, these handyman disciples are the bottom social animals. The only way out is to become a disciple of the upper courtyard. But the handyman disciple not only has poor aptitude, but also has less time to practice every day, and there are basically not many who can become useful. In the past, the original owner didn't care about morning repair, mainly because of poor aptitude, and practice had no effect. But now it's different. After the morning repair began, Chen Shaijia quickly focused on one of the handyman disciples. The man was called Meng Tiancheng, and he was the genius among the handyman disciples. Everyone practiced the most basic King Yu Xianzong's King Yu bodybuilding Ju. He practiced the fastest. It is said that he can complete the bodybuilding in half a year and be promoted to the upper court. Chen Shaijia decided to take a look. There are so many handyman disciples, it is impossible for him to check every one of them to see whose light can make him cultivate the fastest. So, it's okay to find the best one at this moment. Meng Tiancheng sat alone in one of the corners of the hall, adjusting his breath cross-legged, with a firm face. Because he has the most chance to enter the upper court, other people have scruples about him and dare not approach the corner where he is. It is as if a beast master is occupying his territory, and other beasts dare not enter rashly. "I'll just rub, don't go in." Chen Shaijia sneakily moved to Meng Tiancheng, preparing to stop as soon as the system signal is connected. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. At last GA boom reminder of the dipping system, Meng Tiancheng is a third-class golden spirit root. The host is with him and his cultivation speed can be increased by 8 times. Should I choose dipping? Whether as expected, he is a genius, his cultivation speed is directly increased by 8 times, which is remarkable. Chen Shaijia praised the praise, sat down, and got ready to practice. Unexpectedly, Meng Tiancheng suddenly opened his eyes, glanced at him, and then said, "When I practice, I don't like anyone approaching, you stay away from me. You have enough." Ming Ming is still 5 steps away. Chen Shaija and Meng Tiancheng looked at each other. Although they were angry and hard to bear, they finally chose to admit the council to keep them safe and walk away silently under the slightly fierce gaze of the genius. When some handyman disciples near the corner of saw this, several people showed joking expressions on their faces. I don't know if I am laughing at Chen Shaija's overweight, or at Chen Shaija's stupidity. One can't work, then try the second one. Chen Shaija moved towards another corner of the hall without reluctance. If Meng Tiancheng is the first genius among the handyman disciples of the lower house, then Li Suejiao is ranked second. Although Li Suejiao is a woman, she can practice Qingyu bodybuilding Ju second only to Meng Tiancheng. It is said that she has the opportunity to complete her bodybuilding within half a year and be promoted to the upper court. She also occupied a corner at this time, practicing quietly. As a woman, Li Suejiao's face is not pretty. But she has a very foul figure, and the 2 snow mountains are particularly proud, like a pair of twin Georgie, they are the real peaks of murder. Chen Shaija adopted the same strategy as before, moving closer to the past. This time, his movements are more secretive and lighter. Anyway, he thinks so. Jie Boom reminder of the dipping system, Li Suejiao is a third-class wood spirit root, and the host of Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com is with him, and his training speed can be increased by 10 times. Should I choose dipping? Whether the signal is connected, Chen Shaija sits down decisively, and then chooses yes. After sat down, he felt a little nervous, secretly paying attention to Li Suejiao's reaction. Sure enough, Li Suejiao felt immediately and opened his eyes. As soon as she opened her eyes, she wanted to say something, but when she saw Chen Shaija's face, she was visibly startled, and then looked around Chen Shaija's face for a while, and finally closed her eyes again without saying anything. Chen Shaija secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Was also a little puzzled at the same time. Why does she stop talking when she sees my face? Could it be? Chen Shaija touched his face, it was smooth and tender. Well, he suddenly understood a little bit. It seems that this time I actually leaned on my face to hit the rice. Putting aside the despicable and boring vanity in his heart, Chen Shaija brought up the system interface again, and fell into deep thought. Why is Meng Tiancheng a third-class Jin Lingan and Li Suejiao is a third-class Wood Lingan, but he is only 8 times faster with Meng Tiancheng's light, but 10 times with Li Suejiao's light? This matter is very worthy of scrutiny. They are obviously third-class spiritual roots. Why is there such a difference? Could it be? Is it because I am more suitable for Mu Lingan? Chen Shaija thinks it is possible. After all, there is an old saying, there is no best, only the most suitable. Chen Shaija thought for a long time, but didn't want to understand. He glanced at Li Suejiao's pair of big double peaks, he suddenly felt a sense of urgency in his heart, very tight and tight. Time is precious, so don't worry about this kind of thing. Anyway, whoever's signal is stronger, he will rub against. How does it feel to practice? As a weak chicken with extremely poor aptitude, the answer in the memory of the original owner is, the breath enters the body with the breath, making the body warm. To be honest, Chen Shaija has no sympathy with this. From the beginning, according to the formula of Qingyu forging body, Chen Shaija immediately felt the air around his body surge towards him. This is probably the heaven and earth aura mentioned in the formula. And these heaven and earth auras, not like the weak chicken original owner, enter the body with his breath. In fact, the function of breathing is only rhythm. Is just like rap requires drum beats. As long as the drum beats are right, you can smoothly and freely regardless of single pressure or double pressure. The human body also needs an effective rhythm to absorb aura, in order to fit the rhythm of heaven and earth. 9 shallow exhales, 1 deep inhale. Aura suddenly surged like a tide, surging and vivid. The original owner of weak chicken can only absorb aura through his mouth and nose because of his poor aptitude. It's like a person who can only grab money with both hands when the sky is raining. In the end, no matter how hard you try, you can't get much money. But people with good qualifications shovel directly with a shovel, and they can shovel cleanly as much as they fall, and they will receive as much as they can. The two are not in the same order at all. At this time, he received the blessing of the dampening system, as if every pore on the upper and lower body was a hole, all open to absorb aura. Those weather auras poured into the body through the skin pores, making him feel as if his whole body was being kneaded by countless little hands, very comfortable. This feeling is so cool. For a moment Chen Shaija felt that he was fascinated by practice. The feeling of practicing really makes people fall into it after a try, and can't get out of it. One breath adjustment is over, the true qi in the body is summarized into the danshan, and the spiritual qi around the body is calm again. This is a complete cycle. Carry on. I want more, I want more. Just after Chen Shaija got comfortable 9 times in a row, the voice of the steward came from the main hall, the morning repair is over, and they all do their jobs. This is the end of the morning repair time. Chen Shaija helplessly stopped his hands and feet and opened his eyes. The other handyman disciples in the hall all stood up one after another, preparing to start work. Chen Shaija was about to stand up, only to hear a cold voice from one side, "What's your name?" Chen Shaija turned his head and saw that it turned out to be Li Suejiao, who was looking at him with dignity. "I was exposed to the light of this senior, and there is a high probability that she will continue to be lighted." Chen Shaija hurriedly replied in a polite manner, "Senior Sister Li, my name is Chen Shaija. I am a handyman disciple of the Jiashizhou class." Chen Shaija, Jiashizhou class. Li Suejiao nodded to Chen Shaija and left. Gone? Chen Shaija was a bit wrong. He is also going to have a few more conversations with this amazingly talented senior sister, to get closer to each other. I didn't expect that the people's house would have left like this. Looking at Li Suejiao's back, Chen Shaija wondered if this senior sister had a social barrier, right? It seems that I will have to work harder in the future. Brother Wu, I don't know where we serve today. Leaving the hall, Chen Shaija quickly found Wu Fulai. The lower court divided the handyman disciples into 10 houses for heavenly stems, and each house was divided into 12 classes for earthly branches. To put it plainly, it is classified into groups for easy management. Wu Fulai is the squad leader of the Jiashizhou class, and Chen Shaija is a member of the Jiashizhou class. Hearing Chen Shaija's question, Wu Fulai's expression became a little heavy. Today we are going to serve the library. Kangshu Pavilion. Chen Shaija quickly searched the memory of the original owner and found relevant information about Kangshu Pavilion. In the memory of the original owner, there is very little information about Kang's huge. The Kangshu Pavilion is different from the Kangjing Pavilion. The Kangjing Pavilion is the most confidential place for the sect to store the magic weapons, while the Kangshu Pavilion is the place where the ancient books are stored. The most important thing is that the library area is so large that every time the handyman disciple goes to work there, he will be exhausted and half dead. This is probably why Wu Fulai's expression is heavy. Chen Shaija's mood fell down when he thought of work. He still felt comfortable in his cultivation, he really wanted to. But the social animals do not have human rights. Since they are assigned to such an errand, the handyman disciples of the Jiashizhou class can only accept it. They sit on the cloud shuttle and arrive at the main hall of the library in a blink of an eye. Qingyu Mountain is composed of 5 suspended peaks, namely Qingzhou Peak, Qinglian Peak, Qingdai Peak, Qinghe Peak, and Qingming Peak. Among them, Qingming Peak is the main peak and the sect is located. And Qingzhou Peak is the shortest mountain, and the lower courtyard is at the foot of this peak. Library is on the top of Qingzhou Peak. There is also a steward in the library. After a few words between the steward of the lower house and the steward of the library, the handyman disciples were put into the library and began cleaning. This collection of books, in terms of scale, is larger than the largest library Chen Shaija has ever seen on earth. But compared with the bright and tidy library on the earth, although it is not dirty, it is messy and completely unmatched. Entering the pavilion, you can see ancient books randomly laid out everywhere. In addition to scattered on the ground, there are also many people who have been randomly stuffed into the bookshelves. The unorganized state is simply outrageous. Of course, the messy things in books are not in the hands of the handyman. You reading www.yukansha.com. They only clean the districts and blocks, and they just want to clean the place as soon as possible, even if it's done. Chen Shaija and Wu Fulai were in charge of the innermost part. After cleaning it for a while, Chen Shaija couldn't help it. Brother Wu, this place is too messy, right? So many books are littered randomly. It really makes people look at it feel uncomfortable. Wu Fulai smiled and said, the library has always been like this. It has been like this since the first day I came here to clean. It hasn't changed at all. No one cares. This kind of thing is thankless. Who wants to take care of it? With that effort, it is better to sleep more. Wu Fulai shook his head, and then said, even if someone really wants to control, hey, look at the look here, where can you manage it? It's better to leave it alone. Chen Shaija curled his lips, if I were to come, it would be clean and tidy in less than a month. Just blow it. Brother, don't believe me. Do not believe. Forget it if you don't believe it. Chen Shaija touched his nose, and said out of anger, Brother Wu, if I'm in charge here, I can really make this place look new in a month, that would be a breeze for me. Little baby has a big tone. Suddenly, an old voice came from their heads. Chen Shaija and Wu Fulai were taken aback at the same time, and they quickly looked up. I saw an old man wearing a blue long-sleeved robe sitting on the top of the tall bookshelf, condescendingly looking at them. The old man glanced at Chen Shaija, and seemed a little surprised by Chen Shaija's appearance, and then said, you told me how to make this place look new in a month. This person, when did climb up? Chen Shaija looked at the tall bookshelf and couldn't help asking, who are you? The old man continued to sit on the bookshelf, looking at Chen Shaija with a calm expression, little baby, you don't care who I am, you can tell me first, how are you going to make this library look new in a month? Suddenly such an old man appeared in the library, and he assumed the posture of a superior in the speech. This is obviously a high-ranking sect leader. Brother, please bring it. This is a good opportunity to show oneself, Chen Shaija must not miss it. For me, this is actually very easy, well. Unexpectedly, the words in his mouth had just begun to be said, and a palm of his hand had suddenly stretched out sideways, covering his mouth all of a sudden. At the same time, there was another hand that pressed his body, making him immobile. Then I heard Wu Fulai say in a very sorry tone, Senior, my younger brother likes to talk big, please don't take it seriously. Love to talk big? So that's it. The old man suddenly became a little faint, kicked his legs casually, and the whole person jumped up silently, and disappeared suddenly without a trace, just like a ninja. Fog grass. Someone whose mouth was tightly covered almost cried. Brother, don't go, listen to me carefully. But the boss really left, I don't know where he went. Wu Fulai took a long spit, then let go of his hands, took a step away, and looked at Chen Shaija with a look of fear, Junior brother Chen, you are really messed up. We just talked about some things as they please. It's just a joke, how can you say it in front of these sect seniors? If you don't deal with it well, it will irritate others, drive out of the mountain sect, or lose your life. XX Chen Shaija looked at Wu Fulai's look worried about him, and really didn't know what to say. He wanted to beat this guy, but thinking about the strength of Wu Fulai's hand when he was holding him just now, he felt that this matter still needs to be considered. At last he sighed long, then patted Wu Fulai on the shoulder, said nothing, and continued to work. Wu Fulai saw Chen Shaija like this, and while comforting him, he also said some points on how to be cautious as a handyman disciple, and he meant to teach him his successful experience. The two of them finished cleaning their own area, and then went to help the other handyman disciples. When they finished cleaning the entire library, it was already evening. After a day's work, I only ate 2 buns at noon. I was really hungry and tired. Chen Shaija is going to cook a large bowl of noodles for himself, add 2 more eggs, and a large cucumber to heal his stomach and soul. The handyman disciples lined up and were about to board the cloud shuttle, but they didn't expect that the old man in green robe he had seen in the library before suddenly appeared in front of all of them again. "Little doll, come here." The old man in King Bao waved at Chen Shaija. Chen Shaija was surprised and delighted. He didn't expect to see the boss, so he hurriedly walked over. "Senior." The old man King Bao's expression was still faint, and he asked, "I thought about it, or I want to hear you talk about what you plan to do to make the library look new in a month." "Well, no matter what I say is right or wrong, I care about you. This is the right attitude to ask for advice." Chen Shaija's heart is secretive and refreshing, but his face is respectful. "Senior, this is the case, if you let me take care of the library." The previous life was on the earth, and Chen Shaija was also a man in the university campus. At that time, he was young and gold, mainly gold, so he wanted to be romantic and romantic, he wanted to have a bag with a bag. Basically there was no sister paper he couldn't handle. Among his colorful memories, the most unforgettable is the wonderful experience with a librarian. "I still remember that sister paper seems to be called Guli Nala. She is beautiful, not to mention her well-proportioned body, she still has a bookish air, that temperament is simply." In order to chase her, Chen Shaija spent a whole semester working hard in the library every day, persevering. They went to the library to work as a free laborer. When they came home from get off work, he still followed the pick-up and drop-off with a cheeky. Finally, thanks to the fierce girl's tenacity, he successfully upgraded from a laborer to a husband and gained a share. Sweet fruit of love. During that period of staying in the library, he learned a lot of knowledge in library management from his sister paper, which benefited him for life. It can be said that Chen Shaija is an expert in library management or in the matter of library papers. At least, in the face of such a mess of Jiangshi, he can handle it with no problem at all. Chen Shaija talked freely in front of the old man in King Bao, and explained several basic concepts of library management in the simplest language, for example, how to sort the table of contents, such as how to manage borrowing, for example, how to simply organize and summarize book information, and retrieve it effectively. These things are the most primitive library concepts on the earth, but listening to the ears of the old man in King Bao, they are enough to make him refreshing. However, the old man in King Bao is obviously not a general, his mind is deep enough, he listened to Chen Shaija's words very quietly, but his expression did not change. If it hadn't been for Chen Shaija to notice that the old man's thumb and index finger kept rubbing, he would feel that he hadn't moved the other person. Continued to talk for a while. "Senior, there are a lot of things, I don't understand it for a while, only if it is done will it be effective." Chen Shaija felt that he should keep a hand, so he stopped talking and stopped. The old man in King Bao groaned for a while and nodded, "Yes, what you said is very interesting, little doll. Do you know if it is useful to make it?" You read www.yuyuganshu.com. After a slight pause, he looked at Chen Shaija again. "Little baby, tell me, how do you understand these things?" Chen Shaija had long thought out an excuse and directly moved out some of the life experience of the original owner. "My grandfather was a book official in the government, and only because he was framed did he return to the village to work as a farmer. I grew up with my grandfather. Teach me these things from time to time and I will learn. That's it." The old man in King Bao touched his beard. "This worldly thing, as expected, is that there is a specialization in the art industry. A small ordinary bookkeeper has such an ability, it is really amazing. Does not say that it is a bit. Chen Shaija watched the old man King Bao listen to his narration, and sighed there, deciding to retreat. He lowered his eyebrows and bowed his eyes. Senior, if there is nothing wrong, then I will leave first. Everyone is still waiting for me. The old man in King Bao turned his head and saw that a group of handyman disciples were waiting respectfully along with the steward. After thinking about it, they said to the steward of the lower house, "You will bring them back tomorrow. I have something for them to do." "Yes." The lower house steward quickly agreed loudly. The old man in the green robe nodded towards Chen Shaija, gently waved the sleeve of the moon, and suddenly turned into a green light, and flew towards Qingming Peak, the head of the 5 peaks, and disappeared in a flash. I rely on. Although Chen Shaija was at the foot of the mountain, he could see the precious light flying in the sky from time to time, but it was the first time to see a big man flying away at such a close distance, and he was really a little shocked in his heart. "Yes, it's your blessing to get the green bamboo ancestors' fancy." The steward of the lower house looked at Chen Shaija, then waved his hand, "Hurry up, your Jiashi ugly squad will come back tomorrow. Junior brother Chen, you are really too menglang, so you will suffer in the future." Back in the lower court, Wu Fulai looked at Chen Shaija with hatred of iron and steel, his eyes seemed to be filled with grievances. "I told you so much before, why didn't you learn well?" Chen Shaija pursed his lips and listened, playing a humble and educated manner in a low-key manner. The library is so big, he can't manage it alone, and he has to rely on the handyman disciples of the Jiashizhou class. Wu Fulai, as the monitor, is very important and must be held back. After Wu Fulai talked about the same thing, Chen Shaija gave his own opinion. "Brother Wu, in fact, I was thinking that the library is already in such a mess. No matter how it is messed up, it can't go anywhere. At most, it can't be restored. It's just the same, but..." After a slight pause, he lowered his voice and said, "But we can go to the library every day to sort out the books in the name of this time. This is a very easy task. At least this month, we don't have to pick up other things. It's an errand." "Okay." Wu Fulai staggered when he heard the words, and almost lost the style of the stable big brother before. "Brother Wu, be careful." "It's okay, I'm okay." Wu Fulai's small eyeballs rolled around quickly, a little worried, and nodded and said, "Junior brother Chen, you seem to have some truth in saying this. This of course makes sense. Compared to doing all kinds of hard work every day, it is definitely more comfortable to organize books in the library quietly." Chen Shaija shook his head low-key. No, brother Wu, now think about it, you are right, I was too violent. I will see the senior again tomorrow, I must have a good talk with him, and quit this errand." "Brother, don't worry or worry." Wu Fulai quickly discouraged, "Since the senior gave such orders, we just need to take the errand." No, brother Wu, I think this is just like what you said, and it is likely to suffer in the future. I'd better quit." "Brother, listen to me, we'll take this matter." Wu Fulai held Chen Shaija with a firm attitude, "Don't tell me, I am the squad leader, and I will pick you up when I say it. You listen to me." Chen Shaija hesitated for a while, and finally sighed, "Since the brother said that, then I can only listen to the brother and let the errand continue." Wu Fulai nodded, satisfied. After a while, he felt that something was wrong again, but he didn't know where it was. After a tiring day, Chen Shaija went back to the dormitory and fell asleep. It was very sweet. The next day, Chen Shaija got up early, boiled the noodles with a bowl of white water, and went out after eating. When he went out, he was still chewing on big cucumbers. He wanted to replace the big cucumbers with big sausages. The big cucumbers didn't taste like meat. Walking into the main hall of the lower court, Chen Shaija was startled, and couldn't help but pause. Because he saw that in the hall, Meng Tiancheng was already sitting in that corner and started practicing. Why come so early? Have talent, are you working hard? Chen Shaija felt that he had been shocked, and silently clenched his fists, vowing to work hard. Probably sensing Chen Shaija's gaze, Meng Tiancheng in the corner opened his eyes and glanced at Chen Shaija, with a trace of disdain in his eyes, and then closed again. Someone who vowed to work hard, walked to the corner where Li Suejiao was resident and sat down and started morning repairs. After closing his eyes and practicing cross-legged for a while, someone opened his eyes again in frustration and didn't want to practice anymore. I knew I wouldn't be here so early. Without Li Suejiao, he has turned back to the original weak chicken, his breath is surprisingly low. After practicing, it is the same as not practicing. It is completely in vain. Sister Li, when are you coming? Brother, I don't want to work hard. Chen Shaija looked at the entrance of the hall with expectation, hoping that the foul figure would appear as soon as possible. In the main hall, one after another handyman disciples walked in. Some people started to practice as soon as they came in, and some people started to doze off as soon as they came in. Chen Shaija understood the latter very well. After all, Li Suejiao was late, and he was waiting a little sleepy. At last Li Suejiao's figure appeared at the entrance of the main hall, probably because he was trotting, and his body made a beautiful rhythm that could not be concealed. Chen Shaija was overjoyed, his eyes lit up suddenly. Li Suejiao walked in from the door and walked to the corner. She saw Chen Shaija next to the corner, and she was startled. Immediately, she saw the expectation in Chen Shaija's eyes again, and her eyes flashed slightly. Then, she quickly turned her eyes away, as if she had never seen Chen Shaija, walked directly to her corner, sat down and started practicing. Jie Boom reminder of the dipping system, Li Suejiao is a third-class wood spirit root. The host is with him, and his cultivation speed can be increased by 10 times. Should I choose dipping? Weather did not say, just choose yes. After a 9 shallow and 1 deep exhalation and inhalation, the surrounding spiritual energy surged again, and countless small hands began to kill the body again. Well, this is the serious way of cultivation. Cultivation makes people feel very fulfilling and happy. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com. Of course, happy time always passes very quickly. In a blink of an eye, the morning repair time is over again. Today, because of the Kangshu Pavilion, Chen Shaija hurried away as soon as the morning repairs were over. There was no way to talk to Li Suejiao more and to have a relationship. However, Chen Shaija took the initiative to say hello to Li Suejiao, calling out, "Sister, you are early." Li Suejiao's gaze swept across his face, and then she left with a soft Soon, the steward drove the cloud shuttle to send everyone from the Jiashi ugly class to the library. In front of Kang's huge, the manager came out to see them yesterday. Master Kingzu has something to do today, so he can't come here in person. He has already sent me a message earlier, saying that I asked me to hand over the library to you to clean up, so you can start. The Kang's huge steward glanced at Chen Shaija, and then said, Master Kingzu said, I will leave it to you to make the overall plan. You can do it cheaply. Thank you, senior. Chen Shaija responded quickly. The manager of Kang's huge pointed to Chen Shaija, the rest of you must listen to him, don't mess around, otherwise you will not be able to bear any mistakes. Yes. The handyman disciples of the Jiashizhou class quickly agreed with their promises. The Kang's huge manager finished speaking, turned and left, and soon disappeared. Wu Fu came to see Chen Shaija and asked, Junior brother Chen, what are we going to do next? Chen Shaija thought for a while, and said, do some induction training first. What goes with garlic? Gravy goes with garlic. Brother, I will first tell you how to do today's things, and wait for everyone to figure it out before starting to do it. Oh, I got it. For 3 days in a row, Chen Shaija was doing induction training. Not only is he satisfied with the situation of the induction training, but also the many handyman disciples are also very satisfied. What he is satisfied is that the handyman disciples learn things very quickly. In just 3 days, they have basically learned Arabic numerals and Chinese pinyin. Even if they are not proficient, it is enough. The handyman disciples are satisfied that they only attend classes for 3 consecutive days and do not work. This is too easy, so easy that they are a little worried in their hearts. Chen Mu saw this and immediately patted his chest to ensure that he was responsible for all the consequences, and the handyman disciples were completely relieved. After learning Arabic numerals and Chinese pinyin, I then began to train some simple bibliographic classification skills, as well as making labels and borrowing cards, etc. All of them trained for 5 days before they officially entered the stage of transformation of the library. On the 5th day, the fascinating Master Green Bamboo came and saw that nothing had changed in the library. He couldn't help calling out, "Chen Shaija, why have you waited for 5 days but haven't started sorting out books in the library?" Chen Shaija replied calmly, "Master, there is a slang in my hometown called sharpening a knife and not cutting firewood by mistake, so I have to teach the brothers how to do it first, and then they will do things faster. It's not easy to make mistakes either. Sharpen the knife and chop wood by mistake." The ancestor King Zuo's eyes lit up when he heard the words, and after chanting a few times, he couldn't help nodding. "I didn't expect such a slang term to contain the most reasonableness. It is really good." After finished, he flashed away again in a mysterious manner. Chen Shaija looked at the big man's erratic figure with a look of envy. In the future, if he is successful in his cultivation and develops such a powerful ghostly body technique, he will definitely go to the dormitory of the female handymen. After for a long time, Master King Zuo did not come again, and it seemed that he had completely let go of Chen Shaija. In this way, in addition to morning repairs, Chen Shaija worked with the handyman disciples of the Jiashizhou class to sort out the books in the library, and lived a busy and fulfilling life. In a blink of an eye, the period of 1 month past the renovation of library is gradually coming to an end. In addition to some scattered books that need to be sorted out, basically the entire library has been completely renewed. On the bookshelf, the books are arranged neatly. Each book is affixed with a handwritten number, and there is a borrowing record card inside. As long as you use the relevant information to search at the front desk of the library, you can easily find the corresponding book. Everything in Kang's Huge is getting better, but Chen Shaija is not very satisfied. Compared with libraries on the earth, the conditions here are too crude. Many of his ideas can't be realized. Only such a primitive and lowest level library can be created. But this seems to be shocking enough for people in this world. The handyman disciples looked at the library of books in their hands as they worked, and they all found it magical. The gazes they looked at Chen Shaija also began to have a different meaning. At the beginning, they were forced to listen to Chen Shaija's words to do things because of the instructions of the steward. But after a month, they already feel a little convinced of Chen Shaija. Even Wu Fulai, unconsciously a little bit when encountering things, is the only one looking forward to Chen Shaija. On the last day of the January period, the green bamboo ancestor came again. He walked slowly into the library, looked at everything that has changed here, and saw everything feel fresh. This completely invalidated the old man's expression management, and his face was full of excitement and wonder. Good, good. After wandering around, the ancestor King Zuo was very satisfied with the new library. He invited Chen Shaija, "I don't think you really have the ability to organize this library, not bad." Chen Shaija quickly pretended to be humble, a compliment for not being a patriarch. Master King Zuo thought for a while, and then took out a small jade bottle. "You have done a good job with this matter. Here are 10 qi in training pills, so let's treat them as your reward." When I heard the 3 words Yinki Dan, the handyman disciples who noticed here suddenly made a burst of inhalation, as if they had heard something extraordinary. Chen Shaija didn't know what Yin Qi Dan was. The original owner had no memory at all, but he could hear the reactions around him, so he hurriedly walked over to take over the small jade bottle. But at this moment unexpectedly Ga Boom reminder of the dipping system, Tai Lien Cheng has a super earth spirit root, and the host is with him, and the cultivation speed can be increased by 10,000 times. Should I choose dipping? Whether 1, 10,000 times. Chen Shaija winced in fright, looked at the distance between himself and the ancestor King Zhu, and quickly returned to his original position. You! King Zhu Patriarch looked at Chen Shaija in surprise, wondering why this handyman disciple retreated again. I don't want this enlightening pill, I want you. Chen Shaija looked at the green bamboo ancestor, as if looking at a piece of peerless treasure. He quickly turned his mind and said, Master, I don't want a chi pill. I wonder if I can exchange it for a reward. King Zhu Patriarch took a deep look at Chen Shaija, his face suddenly became calmer. Then what do you want? Since he entered the mountain gate, he has practiced for 2,000 years, and he has met countless people. Among them, the most disliked in his heart are those who are insatiable. He took out 10 yen chi pills, which was already a very generous reward. This was because he was so satisfied with the changes in Kang's Huge that he would do so. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com, but the handyman disciple in front of him didn't want it, saying that he had another request, which made his heart cold all of a sudden. Chen Shaija said sincerely, I have been in the sect for a year and have stayed in the lower court. Well, except for errands, I have never been to other places in the sect. Patriarch, I don't know if I can go to your residence. Take a tour, so you can see what kind of place a godlike person like Patriarch lives in. King Zhu Patriarch was startled. Unexpectedly Chen Shaija made such a request. Promise, promise soon. Chen Shaija stared at the boss nervously, for fear that the boss would refuse if he didn't agree. The Master King Zhu saw Chen Shaija's appearance and couldn't help but smile, but he secretly said that he was an interesting little guy. Don't enlighten Dan, go to visit his residence. This request is too bad. However, it is precisely this way that we can see that this pure heart of innocence does not account for the gains or losses. Chen Shaija saw that the boss didn't say a word, and thought that others were not willing to let outsiders go to his residence. He might be too abrupt to make such a random request. If he is not careful, he will offend the boss. Therefore, he quickly found a way out for himself. If the Patriarch feels wrong, then forget it. It is good. He didn't finish his words, but Grandmaster King Zhu nodded. Since you want to go to my residence and have a look, there is nothing wrong with it, but this enlightening pill can't be given to you, you can think clearly. Now, do you really want to use this entrainment pill for this? I figured it out clearly, change it. Chen Shaija is unwavering. Just kidding, if you can connect to the Wi-Fi on your boss, even if it's only for a while, it's probably more valuable than these 10 Qian training pills. That night, Chen Shaija sat on the magic weapon of King Zhu Patriarch and went to his residence on Qingming Peak. Before, the only magic weapon Chen Shaija had ever rode was the Cloud Shuttle. That is a magic weapon used by the stewards in a unified way, specially used to transport and pick up the handyman disciples to work. There is a closed space in the middle of the shuttle. After the handyman enters it, he can only release it when he reaches the destination. The outside scene is completely invisible during the flight. But the magic weapon of the green bamboo ancestor is different. It is a large piece of bamboo with branches and leaves on the bamboo. After the person went up, he stayed on the surface of the bamboo, and he could see everything around him during the flight, without any obstruction. Compare the two with an easy-to-understand example. If the cloud shuttle is a large truck with a container, then the big bamboo is a convertible sports car. The experience that the two brings to the passengers is really different. Originally, Chen Shaija was only excited about the green bamboo master himself, but after getting on the big bamboo, he gradually became excited about the scenery he saw. It was so beautiful. Outside the sky, it's just a scene shrouded in icy clouds and snowy. In the huge mountain protection array, the 5 peaks of Mount Qingyu are looming in the clouds and mist. As the main peak Qingming where the sect is located, there is another layer of protective array. The brilliance floated outside the circle, and even in the daytime, it reflected the blue sky and blurred like an illusion. Little Wawa, this is my home. After passing through the formation of Qingming Feng, the big bamboo slowly flew towards the southwest of the mountain. After a while, he landed on a flat cliff beside a cliff. There is a dilapidated cottage on the back side of the cliff, and the green bamboo ancestor actually pointed to the cottage and said that it was his residence. Is the living environment of the big guys so bad? Chen Shaoja looked at Kalu, to be honest, quite disappointed. According to the information he heard, this gangster is one of the 5 elders in the sect. There are 5 peaks in Qingyu Mountain, and each peak has an elder guarding the mountain. The ancestor of Qingzhou is the elder of Qingzhou Peak, and his status is lofty. I didn't expect such a great elder to live in such a mediocre home. Master Qingzhou glanced at Chen Shaoja and could guess what Chen Shaoja was thinking. He smiled and said, "Is it very disappointing? You traded 10 Qian training pills for this. It is too late to regret it now. If you are willing, you can choose to take 10. I will send you back to the lower courtyard immediately. It's you that I exchanged 10 Qian training pills for, Patriarch." Chen Shaoja shook his head decisively, "Since I have chosen to see the ancestor's residence, I will not change it." The husband said nothing. It is difficult to chase the horse. With one word, it's hard to chase the horse. Master Qingzhou understood the meaning of this sentence and nodded. Is this also the slang of your hometown? Yes, well said. After a pause, he put away the faint expression on his face, and smiled more relaxedly. In that case, you can come in with me, little Wawa. Although my cottage is simple, not everyone can get in and out at will. Pushed open the door of the Kalu, Qingzhou Patriarch walked inside at will. Chen Shaoja followed and also entered the door. He has made up his mind, no matter what, to stay here tonight. He will never be 5 steps away from the Master Qingzhou. But as soon as he entered the door, he stayed for a while, and he couldn't help but stop. Even Master Qingzhou walked in a long way, he didn't have time to keep up. Here, how? Chen Shaoja felt that there was a spirit of energy in the house, which immediately wrapped him tightly. Even if he has such a weak sense of aura, he can feel the richness of the heaven and earth here, which is almost 1,000 times that of the outside. Qingzhou Patriarch has already sat down on the only bed in the Caolu, and said with a smile, "Little baby, you know that my Caolu is better now, right?" He pointed to under the bed, and then said, "Here is a spiritual eye, one of the largest spiritual eyes on Qingming Peak. The spiritual energy is locked in the grass house with the spirit gathering array, and I practice it here. A day can be worth a month of practicing outside." It turned out to be the same sentence on the earth. Don't care how bad the house is, as long as the location is good, no matter how bad it is a good house. Chen Shaoja said that this trip was worthwhile, and quickly walked within 5 steps of the Qingzhou master, and pleaded, "Master, I wonder if I can stay with you for one night." Qingzhou Patriarch knowingly asked, "Little Wawa, didn't you just leave after a visit?" Chen Shaoja cheered up and said, "Master, I think it would be a shame to walk around after a visit. Your cottage is nothing good. My 10 Qian training pills are too bad for me. Well, so I want to practice here for one night, so as to take advantage of it." Qingzhou Zushi smiled, nodded, and agreed. After thinking for a while, he took out the bottle of Chi Dan and threw it to Chen Shaoja. "These 10 Chi Dan was originally for you, so take it. This is a surprise. The boss is full." Chen Shaoja took the Chi pill. "Thank you, Master." Qingzhou Patriarch waved his hand and looked at Chen Shaoja a little bit sorrowful. "I checked the records of the sect, your little doll is not very qualified, otherwise you and I are so close, I don't mind accepting your little doll to get started." Chen Shaija thinks that the ancestor King Zhu is a kind person, and he is too polite. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com. His qualifications are more than not good, it is simply terrible. But he has a thick-skinned face, and no matter how bad he is, he has to fight for himself. Patriarch, if I can be promoted from the lower house to the upper house in the future, I don't know if you are willing to accept me as an entry. Green Bamboo Patriarch shook his head. Your qualifications, even if you can be promoted from the lower house to the upper house, you won't have any great prospects on the way to cultivation. Chen Shaija continued to survive desperately. Master, you see, if you need a person doing chores around you, I think I can do it. If you can be promoted to the upper court, you are a serious disciple of the sect. Even if you don't go far in the practice, you can do other things. Why come to me to waste? King Zhu ancestor smiled kindly. Little baby, don't let yourself be mistaken. We will talk about future things in the future, and now we just have to take care of our eyes. Patriarch, I just want to be with you. Chen Shaija shouted from the bottom of his heart that the light of a big boss can increase the speed of cultivation 10,000 times. Where can I find such a good thing? But the boss obviously won't accept him. He can only come slowly later, otherwise he will be too anxious and will reveal his underwear instead. You can visit by yourself, as long as you don't enter the house behind the caolu. King Zhu Patriarch left this sentence, and sat cross-legged on the bed, closing his eyes. Chen Shaija didn't even bother to visit such a ruined cottage. His goal has always been the boss himself. So seeing the boss closed his eyes, he immediately sat next to the boss, and started to do it cross-legged, and began his practice. The cultivation speed increased 10,000 times, he really wanted to experience it. Also, 1 day of cultivation is equal to 1 month of cultivation environment, and it is also the best. The spring evenings are short and must be cherished. If it is said, the feeling of a 10-fold increase in the speed of cultivation is kneading with small hands. Then, the feeling of a 10,000-fold increase in training speed is the authentic Thai-style horse-killing chicken, or the kind of trampling with your feet. From the beginning of his training, Chen Shaija felt the spiritual energy around his body surge towards him, instantly turning into countless pairs of thick and powerful feet, trampling crazily. This obviously should be an experience that will make him feel very painful, but because the purity of the aura in the grass house is too high, there is really no way to get a good product, and the whole person is immediately ecstasy after taking a sip. It is so cool to not want it, and I feel completely. There is no pain. And, after taking a sip, the feeling of refreshment just dropped slightly, and I can take another sip immediately. 9 shallow and 1 deep, 9 shallow and 1 deep, 9 shallow and 1 deep. Just exhale and inhale continuously. Chen Shaija felt like she was floating in the clouds, light and soft, and comfortable enough to fly. Keep sucking, keep getting cool, never ending. Cultivation is really addictive, and as long as you become addicted once, you probably won't be able to quit again in the future. While Chen Shaija kept adjusting his breath, he couldn't help but feel a little worried. After experiencing such a refreshing feeling in the boss, how would he go back to the lower court in the future? I can't quit the boss, what should I do? Suddenly Chen Shaija felt his body shook suddenly, and then the whole person was suddenly full of strength. This feeling is difficult to explain in detail. Anyway, it seems that the surface of the body was wrapped in a glass shell, and then it suddenly collapsed, and his body has since broken away from a certain barrier. Chen Shaija didn't understand what was going on. He only knew that the spring night was worth a lot of money, and he had to cherish his time and continue to feel better with the boss. And such a high purity aura is rare, at least there is no such thing in the lower house. He must take a few more breaths. The refreshing feeling continues. After a while, Chen Shaija felt a bit of itching in his bones. Anyway, he wanted to scratch it with his hands, but he definitely couldn't get it. This made him squirm, wanting to stop the itching feeling a bit. But it's useless. The itching feels getting worse and worse, and it keeps accumulating in the body little by little. It accumulates more and more, and it gets more and more itchy. Just before the full itching seems to burst out suddenly, Chen Shaoji shook again suddenly, and then the itching sensation disappeared all at once, and his whole person was full of power again. The feeling this time was very similar to the previous feeling. There was no way to explain it concretely, as if a glass shell was wrapped around the bone, and then it suddenly collapsed, allowing his body to break free from certain barriers. Chen Shaoji couldn't figure out what was going on, nor was he ready to figure it out. Anyway, there was a lot of broken things on his body today, and he couldn't manage it for a while. At this moment, he just wants to practice, just want to suck, and he can be refreshed until dawn in the big guy's cottage. I don't know how long it took. Chen Shaoji suddenly felt that someone tapped the stick on his head. The power is not great, but it is enough to make him have to break away from the state of cultivation. Opening his eyes, Chen Shaoji saw Master Green Bamboo for the first time. The old man was looking at him curiously, holding a bamboo stick in his hand. Chen Shaoji reached out and touched the back of his head subconsciously. I felt a little pain, and a bag was knocked out of my brain. It seems that the murder weapon is the bamboo stick. As for who the perpetrator is, does it still need to be said? Unexpectedly, you little baby, you have such a talent for cultivation. Master Kingzhu touched his beard and looked a little puzzled, but why do I see that you have no spiritual roots and low aptitude in the results of your introductory test? Chen Shaoji has nothing to say, and can only pretend to be stupid. I don't know. But with the master, the aura is too strong. I think it is much easier to cultivate than I usually do. Because of the aura here. Master Green Bamboo shook his head. No matter how strong your spiritual energy is, and you don't have spiritual roots, how can you sense and absorb it? Chen Shaoji didn't say a word anymore. He saw the boss thinking. He was a little hesitant in his heart whether he should continue to practice, and took the opportunity to take a few more breaths. There is no way, once this is addicted, the whole person's heart is the only thing that can be thought of, and the body is very honest. Could it be? Master Kingzhu suddenly walked over and directly pinched Chen Shaoji's body with his hands. Master, what are you? Chen Shaoji was a bit at a loss, not knowing what the boss wanted to do. Master Green Bamboo squeezed for a while, then stopped and fell into deep thought. Why is this? Not like it, it's not like it at all. The big man started thinking again. Chen Shaoji didn't dare to disturb. He turned his head and looked out the window, and found that it was already bright outside, and it was a new day. Sure enough, happy times always pass very fast. Chen Shaoji thinks about the comfort of practicing last night. I really want to ask for it again. Forget it, I don't want to, no matter what. You come to my cottage this time, little Wawa, and you have gained a lot. Kingzhu Master returned to his mind and looked at Chen Shaoji. Tisk, King Yu's bodybuilding tactics broke through 2 realms in a row, and in half a year, I will probably break through the last realm, and since then I have been promoted to the upper court. What? Chen Shaoji was stunned, and his mind was a little confused. I actually broke through the first 2 realms of King Yu's forging body art? You must know that King Yu's bodybuilding tactic is the most basic technique of the King Yu Immortal Sect. All disciples of the King Yu Immortal Sect must practice this technique as soon as they enter the door. Gongju is divided into 3 realms. They are copper skin, iron bones, and gold swallowing fossils. The role of King Yu's bodybuilding tactic can be easily seen from these 3 realms. In fact, it is to let the disciples develop a good physique, so that they can work hard and eat well, so as to lay a solid foundation for future development. Only after practicing the King Yu bodybuilding Ju, can he enter the upper court to practice other techniques and become a true disciple of the sect. King Yu's bodybuilding tactic, to put it plainly, is a stepping stone to entry. But for a handyman disciple with ordinary cultivation qualifications, this stepping stone is not easy to handle. Don't think that Qing Yu's bodybuilding tactic is a basic skill, but few of the handyman disciples can cultivate all three realms. Take Wu Fulai, a person who has been in the business for so long. He has practiced the Qing Yu bodybuilding art for more than 10 years, and he has now broken through the realm of copper skin, and it is still far away from breaking through the realm of iron bones. No need to think about it. It can be seen that one practice is too talented. For those who are not talented, it is a bumpy step and thorns everywhere. Before Chen Shaija crossed, the original owner's aptitude was so bad that he could absorb the spiritual energy to warm his body to the original level, and he couldn't even tell the beginning. What Chen Shaija didn't expect was that after a night like yesterday, well, of course, there was also the effect of shining Li Suejiao in the previous few days. He actually broke through the two realms of copper skin and iron bone. Surprised and delighted. Is the cultivation speed increased by 10,000 times so awesome? Break through two realms in one night, well, if you stay a few more nights, don't you go to heaven? While thinking like this in his heart, Chen Shaija looked at the boss and couldn't help but the light soared. At the same time, he couldn't help swallowing. Little doll, what are you looking at? Master Kingzhu was a little inexplicable by Chen Shaija's weird gaze, and couldn't help touching his hair bun. Chen Shaija said brazenly, "No. Nothing, I was thinking, Master, you are really a good place for cultivation, I don't know if I can come again in the future." Master Kingzhu smiled, King Mingfeng is the important place of the sect, not for the disciples of the lower court to enter at will. This time I made an exception. If you want to come, wait until you are promoted to the upper court. Master, I will miss you. After passing through, Chen Shaija found his goal in life for the first time. At this moment, he secretly swore that he must work hard to cultivate and be promoted to the upper court as soon as possible and become a glorious and free disciple of the upper court. Master Green Bamboo joked, "If you can be promoted to the upper court within half a year, I will consider putting you in your veins." Master, rest assured, I will work hard. Chen Shaija is extremely firm. The big guy was willing to accept him, which made him full of hope for the future at once. Let's go, I will take you back. King Zhu Shizu smiled, and led Chen Shaija out of the grass cottage, and then drove the bamboo magic weapon again, returning to the Kingzhou Peak on the same road. Although the January period has passed, there is still a lot of finishing work in the library that hasn't been completed, and the Jiashizhou class will continue to work at Kingzhou Peak. This is actually Chen Shaija's tricky eye. He did some of the most critical and easiest parts first, so that the entire library looks like it has been remodeled. Then, he secretly put those time-consuming and labor-intensive tasks behind, and prepared to do it slowly. This not only copes with the upper hand, but also reduces the workload of the handyman disciples. It can be said to be hello, everyone. Sent Chen Shaija back to Kingzhou Peak, the ancestor of Kingzhou turned around and left without a trace. Chen Shaija glanced enviously at the flying green mansions, and couldn't help but why how cool he would be if he could fly around in the sky like this one day. It's better to have a beautiful girl with me, so it's even cooler. Brother Chen. While he was fascinated by fantasy, Wu Fulai's voice suddenly came from behind him in an untimely manner. I am special. Chen Shaija wiped off his saliva quickly, turned around and smiled, Brother Wu, early. Wu Fulai came over with a constipated expression, Junior brother, what do you want me to say about you? What's happenin'? Chen Shaija looked at Wu Fulai with thick eyebrows and big eyes. Wu Fulai said bitterly, yesterday Master Kingzhou wanted to reward you the Qi pill, why did you push it away? Those are 10 Qi pills. You pushed it away for such a good opportunity. No one else wants it. What do you want me to say about you? Chen Shaija resisted the urge to reach out and touch the 10 Qi-inspiring pills in his arms, and humbly asked for advice, Brother, I really don't know the magical effect of the Qi-inducing pills, so I thought about fulfilling my wish and went to Master's residence. Take a tour, Well, brother, is the entrainment pill very precious? I wonder if you can tell me more about the magical effect of the entrainment pill. What's the use of saying this? Wu Fulai sighed incomparably, and under Chen Shaoji's expectant gaze, he nodded, well, then I will tell you about the magical effect of this Qi Dan. After Wu Fulai's popular science, Chen Shaoji finally learned that the original Qi pill was specially used for people who just started to practice, and it can increase a person's sense of breath 100 times within 5 hours. Chen Shaoji felt quite surprised after hearing this. This matter was completely absent in the memory of the original owner. It seems that this product is too lonely. The year before, I was patronizing and playing cool and handsome, and I didn't get any useful information. Waste. There is nothing good except being handsome. Chen Shaoji decided to take a warning, and never let himself fall into the abyss of desire to be handsome as the original owner, like the original owner. After admonishing himself, he continued to ponder this Qi Dan. A person's aptitude is good or bad, it's entirely in the sense of breath. The sense of breath becomes stronger, and of course the speed of cultivation also becomes faster. Taking this Qi pill can increase 100-fold, which is really scary. Although 5 hours is not too much, it is not too short. Chen Shaoji left his fingers and settled, staying in the gangster's cottage last night for only 5 hours, this was enough. The enlightening pill is indeed good, but compared to it, I would rather use these 10 entraining pill to exchange with master, and stay with him one more night. Chen Shaoji thought so. The sense of aura has been increased 100 times, and the super earth roots of the dazzling boss, which can increase the speed of cultivation by 10,000 times, it is self-evident which one is more fragrant. On the other side, Wu Fulai is still brooding about Chen Shaoji's choice yesterday. You don't know the value of the enlightening pill. Even if you don't use the enlightening pill for your own use, you will keep it in your hand and get it in exchange for money in the future. Well, back then, I heard a senior from the imperial capital of Ruguo say that a Qi pill can at least be exchanged for a 5-entry mansion with them. A entrainment pill is worth a mansion in the imperial capital? Chen Shaoji suddenly felt that the weight on his chest was very heavy. 10 mansions, it's not a joke, this is a big deal. Wu Fulai talked about it for a while, and finally he looked at Chen Shaoji with a pitiful look. I also blame me. You reading www.yuyuganshu.com usually doesn't tell you more about this, otherwise you won't be completely ignorant. Qi Dan is precious, so I can use it to exchange to visit master's residence. Alas, don't say 10 Qi Dan, if I can get one, let me do anything, well, even if there is a on the ground. If I want to eat immediately, I will eat without hesitation. It's not good to say that. Chen Shaoji blinked, and hesitated whether he should immediately distribute a Qi pill from his arms to the senior. But he only hesitated for a while, and finally felt that it was over. Eat shit. Brother Wu is so embarrassed. I really want to take it out, does he eat or not? It's all a dilemma. The next day, Chen Shaoji rushed to the lower court as usual. Although he was addicted to practice, he didn't arrive early. The key is that Li Suejiao won't arrive early. It's useless if he goes early. It's useless if he doesn't even have Wi-Fi. But when he arrived, Li Suejiao still didn't arrive, so he sat down at the corner. Looking at the other corner, Meng Tiancheng had come long ago, sitting upright and adjusting his breath. It seems that he is also an addicted person, so he comes early every day. After a while, Li Suejiao finally came. When she walked over, she saw Chen Shaoji, her eyes flickered slightly, and she walked towards the corner. As soon as Li Suejiao's figure appeared at the door, Chen Shaoji's eyes were always on the senior sister. When they approached, he took the initiative to say hello, senior sister, early. Li Suejiao nodded, her expression as cold as ever, and then sat down in the corner. Chen Shaoji didn't care so much, because the system prompt in his mind had already come, he was very happy to click the connection immediately and start practicing. The tenfold increase in the training speed is naturally far more than a tenfold increase. But Chen Shaija is still satisfied. Thai-style horse-killing chicken is naturally good, and it is not bad when kneading with small hands. It is very refreshing and addictive. After happily practicing, Chen Shaija stood up quickly and prepared to leave. "Brother Chen." Suddenly, he heard Li Suejiao's voice coming from behind, with a texture like ice and snow. This is the first time that a senior sister took the initiative to speak to him. Chen Shaija quickly stood still. "Sister Li, are you okay?" I saw Li Suejiao also stand up from the ground. Her body moved slightly again, and hesitated. I heard someone say. "What did you hear?" Chen Shaija listened. "I heard people say that you are valued by Master King Zhu and want to reward you with 10 Qian training pills, but you refused, didn't you?" Li Suejiao's voice is not high, but the words are clear. "How long has this happened? Actually spread? There are so many 8 poos." Chen Shaija nodded. "Yes, senior sister." Li Suejiao showed a pity, and said, "Junior brother Chen, Yin Qi Dan is extremely precious to us handyman disciples. If you have such an opportunity next time, don't refuse." After a slight pause, she went on to say, "Even if you feel that you are useless, you can take it back and exchange it with me. I am willing to exchange the price of 100 taels of gold for an entrained Qi Dan." Golden 100 taels. Although Chen Shaija is not sure about the price level here, he also knows that it should not be less than the imperial capital mansion. "Sister Li, do you really want that entrapment pill? Anyone who hasn't learned can use the entrainment pill, and the effect of entrainment pill is very good. Of course I want it." Li Suejiao nodded, and said, "Unfortunately, I am not like you. I can get the appreciation of Master King Zhu, and I have the opportunity to get the Qi pill. Alas, it's a pity. It turns out that Yin Qi Dan is so important to sister." Chen Shaija actually didn't pay much attention to Yin Qi Dan in his heart, and felt that the effect of 100 times Qi feeling was just like that. But now seeing Li Suejiao's appearance, he suddenly thought of something else, and suddenly thought of something else. "Wait, am I a little bit wrong? This kind of bad luck to my aptitude? It may not be effective, but it is different for her." The description of 100 times a sense of breath is very foolish in itself. To put it bluntly, the most important thing is to look at the original base number. If the original base is small, it is useless even if it is increased by 100-fold. If the original base number is large, then it will be improved 100-fold, and it will be very bullish. 1 times 100 or 10 times 100, which one has the more effect is obvious. Li Suejiao originally had a 3rd-class wood spirit root, and his cultivation speed was 10 times that of Chen Shaija. If you add the buff of the 100-fold sense of Qi of the Qi pill, the training speed will be greatly improved every minute. Therefore, Yin Qi Dan has a greater effect on Li Suejiao, and the effect is also better. Chen Shaija pondered this matter for a while, and couldn't help but think, I wonder if she takes the Qi pill, can my system touch her light? Li Suejiao couldn't see Chen Shaija's strangeness, and said, "Junior brother Chen, if you have a chance to see Master Green Bamboo in the future, you should still try to beg Master to see if he can reward you with the Qi pill again." After saying this, Li Suejiao nodded at Chen Shaija, and started to leave. Chen Shaija quickly glanced around the hall. Basically, everyone else had already left. He couldn't help but whispered, "Sister Li, don't leave." Li Suejiao stopped and looked at Chen Shaija with some surprise, not knowing what else he had to say. "Sister Li, see what this is." While speaking, Chen Shaija flashed the palm of his right hand very quickly, revealing the contents in it, and then quickly closed his hand again. "Hey? This?" Only took a look, Li Suejiao's eyes suddenly changed, with surprise and longing. How could there be any more?" Chen Shaoji smiled and said, Sister Li, Master thought I was a loss, so later he still gave me a pill. Well, no one else knows about this. The only people who know now are you and me. Li Suejiao turned to look around, and quickly thought about it, and said, Junior brother Chen, if you are willing to exchange, then as I said before, I can exchange this Chi Dan with you at the price of 1,000 taels of gold. I don't want gold. Chen Shaoji shook his head decisively and watched the rhythm of the elder sister's constant fluctuations because of her shortness of breath. Li Suejiao took a serious look at Chen Shaoji's facial features, and then asked, Then what do you want? Chen Shaoji said, Sister Li, I can give you this Qi Enlightening Danbei. What? Li Suejiao's eyes widened, her small mouth slightly opened, and she looked at Chen Shaoji for unknown reasons. Chen Shaoji smiled slightly and stretched out a finger, but I have one condition. What conditions? I hope senior sister Li can watch and accompany senior sister when she takes this Qi and training pill for her practice. Hey? This, why is this? Li Suejiao didn't expect Chen Shaoji to propose such a condition, and couldn't help but feel a little puzzled. Chen Shaoji said softly, I only hope to witness the rapid progress of the senior sister's cultivation. There is no other picture for you reading www.youkansha.com. Hearing such an answer, Li Suejiao's face turned red all of a sudden. The rhythm of her body increased abruptly, and then it calmed down again. Okay, okay. Chen Shaoji smiled with satisfaction. Okay, sister, see when you are free. Let's make an appointment at a suitable time and find a suitable place. I will hand the Qi pill to sister at that time. Li Suejiao thought for a while, lowered her voice and said, Junior brother Chen, this matter can't be done too hastily. Well, the time limit for the Qi pill is 5 hours, so we must find a day off. How about we ask for a day off in 3 days? I never rushed, only slowly. Chen Shaoji agreed, Sister, I listen to you. The time and place were set, and both of them rushed to work, so they didn't say much about other things, and soon went to separate things. Chen Shaoji swayed back to the Jiashizhou class. Everyone was already there, only waiting for him. After he came, he repeatedly apologized and walked to the end of the line, ready to queue up for the shuttle. What he didn't expect was that at the end of the team, he actually saw a face that shouldn't have appeared. Why is he here? Chen Shaoji stared at Meng Tiancheng and asked Wu Fulai in a low voice. Wu Fu took a look at Meng Tiancheng and said, he didn't know where he heard that our Jiashizhou class had the lightest work, so he asked the steward to be transferred to us, and in the future he went to work with us in the library. Grandma. Turns out to be an advantage. Chen Shaoji frowned, suddenly feeling very upset. I feel that the peace and unity that I have worked hard for a long time to create, I was beaten to pieces all at once.